Hey guys, welcome back to round number 3 from the Displays Illinois City Championship. In the second round, we had a pretty good match between a Hydreigon deck and a Ho-Oh deck. Well, we should have a... I don't actually know what these guys are playing, so I can't say what kind of a matchup this will be. But we have Joe Baka versus Cody Kressman. I don't know too much about Cody, but I know Joe Baka is a local player. He's a pretty solid player. I'm not sure what he's using, but we should have a good matchup here. I would hope so, as these guys get set up here. So Joe will be on the left, Cody will be on the right. And these guys are just going to get set up here. So this is round 3 of 7 here from the Displays Illinois City Championship. Both these players are 2-0 so far. This is the top table for Masters. And I mean, with 7 rounds, you gotta go 6-1 to feel safe to make it for the top 8. Some 5-2s will make it, but for the most part, you're not going to be feeling comfortable if you're going 5-2. Only a couple of those players will make it in. Then it's all coming down to resistance, tiebreakers. So both these guys are going to be looking for a win here, as always. I mean, you never want to lose, but one loss is really all you can afford to take in these tournaments with 100 players, top 8. It's just the reality of the situation. We can see as Joe's shuffling, he has looks like a Darkrai Landorus deck. I saw some dark energy, I saw some dark patches. So I assume that's what he's going to be playing here, and didn't get to see any cards from Cody. I think I see a Bouffalant on the bottom of his deck, but we'll see. I'm sure we'll find out shortly. It's nice to know what we're getting into beforehand, but we can see what happens as it goes along as well. So it looks like Joe has no basics. He's probably going to have to mulligan here. Well, not probably. Unless he just puts down a Pokemon catcher and... he is kind of feigning having a basic, but it doesn't look like he has one. And Cody does have one. So Joe's going to show his hand. And we do see a Crushing Hammer, a Dark Energy, so this is definitely a Darkrai. Hammer's kind of a deck with probably Terrakion, Landorus as well. Dustin Zimmerman actually used this deck yesterday. Took second to Jason Kaczynski in the finals, so it's a pretty strong deck. And we'll see how it goes here. I did play against Joe the other day. He was using a Ho-Oh deck, so it looks like he's given up on that. Earlier in the season, he was using Darkrai Terrakion, and he actually did pretty well with it. So I guess he's kind of going back to his roots here. A lot of people kind of lost faith in the Darkrai deck after a couple city championships. You know, it just wasn't winning as often anymore. The Blastoise decks maybe overpowered it. Landorus was also a big card to deal with. But it seems like as things have kind of evened out and settled, people have gone back to the Darkrai deck. Darkrai is just such a good card. It's never going to be phased out of competitive play. It's just too good. You know, the Dark Patch, the Dark Cloak, Night Spirit, they're all just way too good. And we're always going to see it in the format, in one way or another. So it looks like Joe's going to be forced to start with a Mewtwo. That's probably not what he wanted to start with. But, hey, you can't control your starting Pokemon. So here we go. Here's the handshake. And, oh, we have a Virizion. Uh-oh. Drew Holton would be proud. That is his favorite card. And a Mewtwo on the bench as well. So we see a Fossil Energy search from Joe. He is going first. That's going to allow him to search for an energy, a basic energy. Now we don't see Virizion very often. I wonder what that's actually for. It could be just for, you know, double draw, setting up. You draw 2 for 1 energy. It's not a bad attack. Or it could be for Leaf Wallop. It's actually, Virizion's actually a pretty good card against a Terrakion. Leaf Wallop, turn 2, a Leaf Wallop against a Terrakion is actually extremely good. Maybe it's for Squirtles, since Squirtle is weak to grass. But I highly doubt it will have any use in this matchup. Overall, Virizion is just not good in this current format. You know, Eviolite just makes Leaf Wallop do 20. Has 110 hit points, which is sadly not that great. But Joe, oh, he just attaches and passes, so... this could be rough for Joe. I mean, he really just I don't know if he can commit too many energy to this, but he doesn't have any other options. And we'll see what Cody has. He has a computer search. We'll see how aggressive he wants to be with this. Discards an energy switch and an N. So he discards an N because he knows, alright, I do not want to give Joe a new hand. He didn't play supporter, all he did was play an energy, he's got nothing. I don't want to play that N and give him a new hand. So he actually computer searches and shows the card. You can actually just put that into your hand without showing your opponent, because computer search can search for any card. But it's just, again, not that important, but whatever you can kind of avoid revealing information about your hand, you probably should. But a tool scrapper's interesting that he would use the computer search just for a tool scrapper. But he does. And he's kind of deciding where do I want to attach. If I put an energy on the Mewtwo, then Joe could, you know, potentially have a double call as catcher my Mewtwo, and I lose 2 prizes, and I'm in a bad spot. But if, I mean, most Darkrai decks do not play. Oh, and he's actually going for a super scoop up. So he's just being very aggressive with this. Most Darkrai decks don't play double call this, so he sees the dark energy and he says, okay, I know I'm safe. I have Eviolite, so off chance you have a plus power, you're not going to get me with an X-Ball. I'm going to hit you for 100, and basically just say, if you don't knock me out or draw another Pokemon, you lose the game. And Joe draws a Darkrai. So he's got to be feeling at least a little relieved that he would draw a Pokemon there. You know, still not a great hand, but better than straight up losing the game. We could have just seen a turn 2 loss, and then I would have had to sit here for 30 minutes filling up time. So I'm glad Joe drew a basic there. He should probably just retreat and attach to the Darkrai and then probably just pass, I guess. His other option, yeah, this is probably the best play. He can X-Ball, it will only do 140, he'll just get knocked out, he'll give up 2 prizes then. So I would just retreat to the Darkrai, hope that Cody doesn't have a catcher, and then next turn you could actually energy switch after retreating, and then move all your energy to your Mewtwo and then just X-Ball him for a knockout. That's probably your best shot at this point. You know, it's not a great thing, but that's whatever. Now Joe's taking a different route. He's actually just sacrificing his Mewtwo. He's energy switching to his Darkrai. And I guess he's just going to let it hang. He's going to pass. I don't mind this play either. This is going to pretty much make sure he gets a Night Spear next turn. Because I don't think Cody's going to pass up these 2 free prizes here. It's just, it's too tempting to just take out a Mewtwo for 2 prizes. I mean, it just looks too good not to take. Mewtwo, of course, is just a powerful attacker, and I just want to get rid of him. I'm still trying to figure out what Cody exactly is playing. We saw a Prism earlier. We see a Mewtwo. We see a Stunfisk here. I see a Cobalion in his hand, so this might just be like a New Age 6 corners kind of a deck where he's just kind of trying to attack the weaknesses of the best Pokemon in the format. I don't know what the Cobalion is for, though. I'm stumped on what's weak to metal. Yeah, I just don't know what's weak to metal. He actually discards the Cobalion. So, let's see. Could be a Kling Klang deck, but usually you don't run these Pokemon in Kling Klang. It just doesn't make sense. You would run EXs because they have higher hit points. They don't want to get knocked down in 1 hit. I think this is really just like a 6 corners kind of a deck. And we do see him grab a Sigilyph as well. So yeah, I guess the Virizion is for Blastoise, Keldeo. The Stunfisk is for both Darkrai and Electric decks. Sigilyph is just an EX counter, and Mewtwo is just the best. So you run him, he only attacks for colorless. Might as well. Maybe it's a Vileplume deck, but we haven't seen an Oddish yet, so I doubt it. Seems like he's got too much stuff going on to be a Vileplume deck. So let's see, he puts a Prism on to the Sigilyph, And there we go. X-Ball. 2 prizes go to Cody. And now it's Joe. He still has to top deck something here. He's got the energy to attack, but just attacking will not be enough. Let's see, he did. Oh, he drew a Dark Claw, though. That's going to allow him to get a 2-hit knockout on this eviolated Mewtwo. That's very nice, actually. It's going to help him out quite a bit. So there we go. He's going to put the Dark Claw on this Darkrai and Night Spirit for 90. Now he's got an interesting decision. Do I want to do 30 to the Brazian or 10 to the Stunfisk? If I do 10 to the Stunfisk, I can just do 90. Again, with thanks to the Dark Claw. So yeah, definitely do 10 to the Stunfisk here. He realizes that because Brazian only has 110 hit points. You can just Night Spear that for a knockout anyway. And Sigilyph, you're doing 0 because of the Safeguard ability. So yeah, Joe making the right play there. Excellent choice. We do have his Super Scoop Up though. Looks like this one is a Tails. Cody did get heads on that first one, and there's another Super Scoop Up. Looks like nope, that's a heads. Oh, that's a big heads there. Here comes Sigilyph. He's just gonna have the double colors now. So I guess, man, this is just like a 6 corners Super Scoop Up kind of a deck. I don't really know. And let's see. I guess he's just gonna Psychic for 60, and Joe just he doesn't have anything. What can he do? He doesn't have a supporter. He can't attack the Sigilyph. And Cody has pretty much just put up a wall in front of him. And unless Joe draws something, anything, he can't do anything. As he's just going to actually Night Spear and hit Brazian for 10 damage. Because, I mean, what else can you do? See a Prism on the Stunfisk. And Psychic for 60, and this is it. He needs to top deck something. And hey, a Juniper. There we go. Alright, maybe we'll see a game yet. He does need another Pokemon, though. Oh, the last card of the Darkrai. Okay. So there's a chance we could see Joel make some sort of a comeback here. It's going to be very difficult. But he can do it. He does have, we saw Crushing Hammer in his deck before. So he does have the ability to just kind of starve Cody out if he ever gets like Crushing Hammers and Enhanced Hammers. There's so many special energy on his board that I could definitely see that happening. But it's going to be really difficult, that's for sure. Joe really didn't get many options off that Juniper. Honestly, he just drew a bunch of supporters because, well, he didn't have them before, but now he's got all of them. That's a frustrating thing to see, but that can happen. I think here, he should honestly just Energy Switch onto his other Darkrai and pass. Just because that's going to make Psychic do, it's going to be 10 short of a knockout because he only has 2 energy now. And also he needs to prepare the next Darkrai if he does get knocked out by, say, a Stunfisk or something. He just needs to be able to attack on the following turn. So I would certainly use that Energy Switch here. And let's see. Joe's just trying to make the right decision here. It's a very tough situation for him. You cannot overlook how difficult this is. He's been given very few options this game. And let's see. Alright, he does play the Energy Switch. But you know, with the few options that he's gotten, he's done very, very well for himself. I mean, he's made every correct decision so far. And, I mean, you got to give it to him for that. This is a stressful situation where things are not going your way. You can easily just get flustered and make the wrong move. But he is doing everything correctly. Very impressed so far with his play. And he's just going to pass. I do like that as well. No need to expose your other Darkrai to being rumbled by Stunfisk. It would do 80 damage, and it would just be a disaster. So we do see a switch into Stunfisk. That's exactly what's going to happen here. We see a Metal Energy. Maybe this is some form of a Ho-Oh deck. I'm not too sure. This is just a strange deck that I've never really seen before. And there we go. Rumble's going to be a knockout, and Cody will take a 4-prize lead. But there's a Crushing Hammer for Joe. This could be the start of a turnaround for him. You know, if he gets a Crushing Hammer, gets a heads, discards the Prism, and then ends Cody down to 2, he'll be in perfect shape. There's a Crushing Hammer. All right, there's a Heads. There's a start to the comeback. Oh, he's thinking about which energy to discard. I'd definitely go for the Prism there. That's going to stop Stunfisk from being able to use Rumble. Let's see. Yeah, he makes the right decision. I'm assuming he plays Enhanced Hammer, and that's why he was trying to make that decision. Because if you just draw the Enhanced Hammer, you instantly get to discard the Prism. But you don't know you're going to draw that. And you definitely just want to make sure your opponent cannot use Rumble next turn. So you always just take the Prism there. So now we have an N. This could be the big comeback card for Joe. He's going to need an energy here to use Night Spirit. I think in a perfect world, he would get an energy and a Dark Claw. There's an Enhanced Hammer, go figure. And oh, he actually does not draw an energy. But, you know, he did draw a Sableye, which is going to be huge. You know, I said before, the key for Joe still being in this game is actually the hammers. The Enhanced Hammer, the Crushing Hammer. And he's going to be able to Enhanced Hammer. He's going to get rid of another Prism. And, you know, he does have an Energy Switch. So what he can do is just retreat, Energy Switch to Sableye, and then Chunk Hunt for probably just Enhanced Hammer and Crushing Hammer. And eventually, he should just be able to run Cody out of energy if he can flip Heads decently enough. We just see a random receiver now. Joe just wants to get that in the discard pile so that if he does get End, he can Junk Hunt for that later and recover for it, or recover it. Let's see. So he gets an N. It's also going to thin his deck out by a card. So I would be surprised if we didn't see Joe just retreat, Energy Switch to the Sableye, and then get back 2 items, which would be those 2 hammers there. He really has no other choice but to try to slow Cody down, take all those energy out of play, and then eventually he'll just be able to Night Spirit until he wins, because Cody will run out of energy. This is the strength of this Hammer Time deck. The Enhanced Hammer is just so good against special energy. Obviously, you discard it immediately. And against decks with no energy acceleration, this is exactly what you need. You constantly discard their energy. They can only play 1 a turn. And so you just discard that 1 every turn. And they can never attack. And eventually they just run out of energy and they lose. The only way Cody's really going to be able to compete in this game anymore is the fact that he has a couple energy in play already. So if he can attach every turn and then just attack till he wins, I mean, he only has to get 2 more prizes. That's the way he can win still. The other way is if he actually plays Ho-Oh, which I don't know if he does or not. So he does... He has 2 supporters in his hand. One is an N, one is a Skyla. Now you can N, and you're only going to draw 2 cards. But you're going to disrupt your opponent's your hammers. You're going to get rid of the Enhanced Hammer. Unfortunately, you're only going to draw 2 cards. So Cody decides to Skyla. He's going to grab a Juniper. And we'll go from there. Now the other reason why I would probably consider the N if you're Cody is that we saw Joe random receiver and he got an N. So you know next turn, if you Skyla for this Juniper, you are not keeping this. You're not keeping the hand. He will end you. He will get rid of that Juniper. And we do see a pass from Cody. And I believe Joe took a Dark Patch last turn. So yep, there we go. He's going to Dark Patch to his Darkrai. He can attach. And then I suppose he'll Enhanced Hammer the Double Colors, and he can end. Might as well just do that. And just like that, Cody is going to lose all of his energy in play. And he'll be end again down to a 2-card hand, and no Juniper this time. Let's see. Alright, so Joe, in a perfect world here, he would draw a Dark Claw. He's already used 1. I'm not sure how many he plays. It's been a trend recently to use Dark Claw in Darkrai decks instead of Eevee-Light. And yeah, he drew another one, so this is going to be a huge swing in this game. I believe that was a Dark Claw in his hand. We're just seeing Dark Claw used more often because it's actually good in setting up knockouts against Keldeo. With the 178 points, you can hit it twice for 30 with Night Spear and then 110 or you can hit a Blastoise for 30 and then 110, finish it. Dark Claw is just very good. It's going to be very good against Cody's deck as well. So we'll see if Joe decides to just shove up the Darkrai and put a Dark Claw on it and knock out the Stunfisk, and then put 10 on Virizion, I guess. Or if he just decides to sit back and Junk Hunt for like Crushing Hammer and Enhanced Hammer too. He's got some big decisions to make here. I think if I were Joe, I would honestly just take the knockout this turn. You can always just fall back to Sableye if things start to go badly. The Sigilyph is what's really going to stand in your way, but he does have Terrakion, so he'll be able to deal with that eventually as well. Joe's got all the options to deal with what Cody's throwing at him. He fell behind early on, but like I said, those hammers, if you don't run any energy acceleration, they will get you. There's just nothing you can do about it when you only attach one every turn. And especially if there's special energy, like they just get discarded instantly by Enhanced Hammer. So we're going to see a Night Spear that will go past the Eviolite because of the Dark Claw. It'll still do 90. And Cody, he's got to be nervous. He got N down to 2 cards. It's just a horrendous situation. Fortunately, he does have Virizion. He can double draw for 2. Maybe improve his situation a little bit. But it's still not going to be that great. Joe, on the other hand, he's got a Fighting Energy. He's just going to put that right onto Terrakion. He's got a Computer Search as well. He's got an N and a Bianca, I believe. Let's see. I know he has an N for sure. I could see that. Looks like he has a Bianca too. Now, if I were him, I would just play the Bianca here, because what's going to happen is you're going to knock out this Virizion, and maybe next turn you just draw an Energy Switch or a Fighting. Either one will allow you to Computer Search for the missing piece in the puzzle. Let's see, he's used 1, 2, 3 Energy Switches so far. So yeah, I assume his deck would play 4 Energy Switch. I'm not too sure, but I assume he does. But next turn he would just be able to Energy Switch onto Terrakion and retaliate, or Land Crush the Sigilyph for the win. So I just keep the pressure on. Don't give your opponent an option to keep double drawing. That would be a way to get back in this game. I suppose he could N as well. He will be getting 5 cards. He'll be putting his opponent back down to 2. So that's another decent plan. I just like the other way because it gives you more control over what you have. But this way is fine as well. We have another N. Cody's got to be getting tired of these N's too. It's his 3rd one. But you can get punished for taking this early of a lead sometimes. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. So Joe's going to draw 5. Gets a couple Crushing Hammers, so he's going to be safe from pretty much everything Cody throws at him for a while. We'll just see another Night Spear for a knockout. The damage works out perfectly. There's 20 on the Virizion. The Dark Claw will cancel out the Eviolite, so he'll be doing another 90, which will be the exact 110 for the knockout. So Cody does the only thing he can do. He just promotes Sigilyph. And, we got a Juniper this time. So maybe he'll have a little life here. But it's still going to be tough because, hey, he's got no energy out there. He's also used a bunch of Super Scoop Ups. He's used some Switches. He's used at least 2 double colorless. I don't think it looks very good for him. But who knows? Mewtwo can do anything. If I've learned anything about this game, it's that never count out Mewtwo. Because he can perform miracles, especially because I assume Joe only plays 1 Mewtwo. He probably just plays it for a situation where his opponent gets a ton of energy on a Keldeo EX, or if his opponent gets a bunch of energy on a Mewtwo, he can just Energy Switch and attach, and then X-Ball for a knockout, because Darkrai really doesn't have anything to deal with that kind of stuff. So you just kind of play 1 Mewtwo to deal with those huge threats. And he started with it, and it got knocked out right away. So you really can't do anything. if Cody were able to somehow build up a bunch of energy, he wouldn't be able to do anything about it. You see a crushing hammer, that'll be a tails. I can't quite see what else is in Joe's hand. He might he might use another end. That is an option. Looks like he's got a catcher though. He might just be content catching up the Mewtwo. Hitting it for 110 with Night Spear. Because he does have 4 prizes left. Even knocking out the Sigilyph is not the end of the game. He's got to knock out both these Pokemon and then another one if Cody benches another one. So still some decisions here for Joe. I gotta imagine time is getting pretty close. Probably still got like 5 minutes or so. But that's something you also have to keep in mind. You do have to tie the game up at some point. You know, even though it looks like you're going to win for sure, you do have to take your prizes before time's called. Otherwise, whoever's winning after the +3 turns will win the match. So Joe is just deciding, all right, he's going to end once again. I like this decision. Just catch up the Mewtwo and Night Spirit, and then, you know, Cody's probably not going to have a way to retreat it or switch it. He's going to have to get kind of lucky to draw one of those cards. And then, you know, you just go from there. It's like Joe gets an energy. You should probably put that on Terrakion so that he can prepare for a land crush at some point. I think he's thinking about it. It's either that or you put it on Darkrai. Decides to put it on Terrakion. Now he just needs one more fighting for a land crush, which will knock out that Sigilyph. Okay, so Joe's just gonna Night Spear for 110 with the Dark Claw. Well, you've seen Dark Claw just be ridiculously good here. It's really just saved Joe in this game. It's just the damage has just been phenomenal. He does draw another catcher off the top. So that's pretty much what he wanted. Gonna catch up Mewtwo. We'll have Bianca for 4. He's holding on to his Crushing Hammer, which is an interesting choice. I believe that's a Psychic on the Sigilyph. I can't really tell. If it's a Psychic, you should probably just go for the Hammer. Otherwise, I guess you would just hold on to it because there's no harm in keeping a random energy on a Sigilyph. But actually there is because of Terrakion. You never know with energy switch out there. Your opponent could just top deck something monstrous and pull off a retaliate knockout on you and you just lose. But here we go, we have Mewtwo going down, and all of a sudden, the only thing that Cody has is this Sigilyph. Looks like he's got a Mewtwo in his hand. So he's gonna actually play it down just so he doesn't lose to fighting energy on the Terrakion. Because then he would just lose to Land Crush. Joe does have 2 prizes left, though. So he's just going to take a look. See how many Pokemon catchers he's used so far. It looks like he's used 2. So he'll probably just catch out Mewtwo. Night Spear him. And then that's pretty much it. And we're going to see Joe make a huge 4-prize comeback here from an abysmal start. He's just going to play this as cautiously as he can, see how many resources have been used. Probably still try to figure out what Cody is playing as he sees the Virizion, the Cobalion, and the Stunfisk in the discard pile. I guess Cody's got the surprise factor working for him. Let's see, what is Joe going to do? Okay, there's the catcher on the Mewtwo. I like that move. I think he's going to bench another Darkrai, which is okay. At this point, you would like to just thin your hand out as much as possible, if you can, in case your opponent draws an N. But he's just going to Night Spear for 110. And if Cody can't retreat that Mewtwo, it's game over. Even if he can, I think it's pretty much game over. But okay, there's a switch. He's just going to get knocked up by 2 Night Spears for 30 on the bench still. Or if Joe has another catcher, he wins. Go. We'll see how aggressive Joe wants to get with this situation. I would think he'll just Night Spear, put the 30 on Mewtwo, and then just call it a day. Or he could just retreat to Sableye and Junk Hunt and then grab, 2 catchers. And then eventually that Mewtwo is just going to be knocked off. It's just a matter of time at this point, I would think. Unless Cody gets another super scoop up or something, he's pretty much just dead in the water. Joe's gonna count his deck and see, alright. If I had Juniper, what are my odds of getting a catcher? And let's see. There's one in there. There's a computer search as well. So he actually has pretty good odds, I would say. She's gonna draw 7 cards. Yeah, and he's just seeing how many he has left. Catcher in the computer search. He's probably got about 12 cards left in his deck, I would estimate. And let's see. I guess you would just play the hammers now if you're going to Juniper. Which he's going to do. There's the tails. And there's the heads. Alright, so he's going to discard that grass off of the Sigilif. It's not really going to help at all. So here we go. Here's a Juniper. If he draws the catcher, the game's over. If he draws a computer search, he can search for the catcher and the game's over. And there it is. Alright, so Joe Baka will make a huge comeback in this round 3 game. He'll move on to 3-0. What a great game here from Joe. I think he played that flawlessly. That was incredible play from him. Just in a terrible situation. He made the best of it. He stuck around, and he ended up winning a game that looked like he was just going to be done for him. Cody will move to 2-1 with his interesting deck. Just the hammers, I think they got him eventually, and the ends, of course, did as well. So that was a great match here from the Des Plaines, Illinois City Championship, I mean, all these players have the capability of, running the table and beating anyone. Joe, you probably didn't hear of him, but you can see there he played incredibly well, and he can just hang with anyone. You think when these tournaments happen that it's always going to be players like Jason Kozinski and Ross Coffin, Jay Hornung, Michael Pramlett, any of these guys, you expect one of those guys to win, but anybody could win here. Everybody is very good. It's high quality competition, and there are 100 players here. So we're going to see great matches all day. So that was round 3 here. We'll be back with 4 more rounds here from Swiss. Pooka here from the Top Cut. So stay tuned, guys, for the next couple rounds.